Transparency. Transparency creates the trust that the community needs to build and to go forward. The release of the body camera footage is a must. The release of the body camera footage as soon as possible is a must to build the transparency that is needed in our community. Many times it is not the act, but is what we do after the act that determines who and what we are. And if we fail, if the sheriff's department fails, if the district attorney office fails to release that body camera to provide the transparency that this community needs to move forward, then we cannot build trust, and therefore justice cannot be done. Accountability is a very integral part of justice. Again, it is a tragedy. It is sad that the sheriff's department has not addressed this community. The sheriff's department has not reached out to the leadership in the black community. The sheriff's department has failed to create the transparency and the trust that is needed in order to have accountability, in order to move justice forward. And again, on behalf of the Pasquotank branch of the NAACP, as well as the state conference of the NAACP, we give our heartfelt condolences to the family and to let this community know that we will be seeking justice.
The district attorney has vowed to us transparency and a accountability in this matter. We'll wait to see what that accountability is. We heard it before. Don't know him. He was elected by this county, by this judicial circuit, and we'll wait to see what happens from here. Andrew had 7 children, all right, and some others may not have been biologically his, but he took care of them. They are fatherless today. That we do know. They'll never see their dad again. He won't walk his daughters down the aisle. He won't be there. And that came to the hands of law enforcement. And we don't know what happened. And the reason why we don't know what happened, because nobody's telling us what happened and showing the video, the body cameras, that would be the objective evidence to show what happened. If it's wrong, it's wrong. There's nothing going to change. If they was justified, they was justified. Nothing's going to change. The video is not going to change. Hopefully it don't. But accountability needs to take place. And what does justice look like in these type of cases? If criminal acts took place, no matter if you wear a badge, star, or shield, if you commit an act, if you commit a crime in the United States, in the state of North Carolina, in the county of Pasquotank, in the city of Elizabeth City, you must be brought to justice. A prosecution, a conviction, and sentence. That would equal justice for us. It's not about any set sum of money, not about that. It's about, for us at large, the people to stand to stop the unlawful killing of citizens. But black males are targeted, black people of color are targeted. Police tends to shoot and ask questions later. And a lot of times when you start asking questions, they don't want to give the answers. But today is a different day. We're going to demand it, and we will receive it. Also, Mr. Horton, you have anything to say?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. 2 days ago, our nation was in turmoil, but now that it's come to Elizabeth City, and I come today to stand as an advocate for our city and, of course, an advocate for the Brown family in requesting our local sheriff to provide these body camera footage. It's not an option. It's something that needs to take place as expeditiously as possible, as we as a grieving community, not just this grieving family, these fatherless children now, we need answers. And part of getting these answers is the accountability of releasing this body footage. So I'm here today to stand with the family, to stand with our community, to stand with our NAACP, these attorneys, as we try to make sure that we get justice and we get answers for this family. Thank you.
All right, is there any questions?
Yeah, so
All right, go.
You want Griff Jenkins, Fox News Channel,
Okay.
DC. You want the camera footage released as soon as possible. You're inside. What are they telling you about whether they might eventually do it, or are they telling you anything? And also, what do you anticipate you may see on that video?
It's been held close to breast, so there's no real indication. It's been speculation, rumor, as you can see a lot of times. There's no real indication of when it will be released. We have multiple witnesses to appear to have witnessed this shooting, and based on what these witnesses are saying, we expect to see an unlawful, unjustified killing of Mr. Brown.
And specifically to that point, that Mr. Brown was not armed.
To my understanding, Mr. Brown was not armed, and the bullets entered into the back of the vehicle, as though he was leaving the scene.
Is it fair to call it unlawful when we don't know the answers, though?
Well, he just answered me the questions to what I tend to see on the video, based on the witnesses that saying that he was not armed and he was fleeing. That is unlawful.
Do you have any other information about what led the sheriff's office to be at his house yesterday morning?
To my understanding, they were serving a search warrant.
But do you know
That's-
in relation to what?
That's my understanding. They're serving a search warrant, and we don't know if that search warrant was ever executed after he was shot and killed.
Have you had a chance to talk to the sheriff yet?
No, I have not spoken to the sheriff. I spoke to the chief of prosecuting
Do
office.
you plan to meet with the sheriff and ask him?
We definitely would like to meet with the sheriff. We would like to meet with any government official who was willing to speak with us concerning this matter. This is definitely something that the family would want to do. So, to my understanding, people have made attempts to speak to the sheriff, and he chose not to speak with him.
Can you talk about how this is for the family right now?
I'm sorry?
Can you talk about how this has been the last 24 hours for the family?
How it's been for the family?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
father had been killed. I think you can probably imagine how what it's been for the family. Any other questions?
Talk to me about who you met with inside just now and kind of what came from that. Because it still sounds like you guys know just as little as we know. So what actually had transpired?
We met with the DA, Andrew Wumble. He gave assurance of his accountability, that he would be accountable and hold his oath of office if anybody who's violated the law, that he would do his due diligence. He's not a police from his position. He's not a district attorney for the police. He's a district attorney for the people. Understanding that some things that he knows he may not want to give to us at this time because it is a ongoing investigation, as my experience, but at the same time, this is something that is a different beast, so to say, that they may not be completely adapted to, but nevertheless, this is something that is urgent in this community, for this community to know what happened to one of their citizens.
Did members of the family join you in this meeting with the DA? Or
I'm not going to speak on it this time. Any other questions?
In terms of demonstrations, I know President Rivers mentioned maybe something today at 5 o'clock, but can you talk to us about what you intend to do about having your voice heard?
You want to speak to that?
We will continue to move forward with peaceful protests, but not, as John Lewis said, it will be good trouble. As you, the media, continue to broadcast this over, it is reaching different levels. Different people are coming in from outside. So we will continue to move forward until we hear from the sheriff. We have not heard from the sheriff, and we need to hear from the sheriff. He does have, he can release these body cameras. Okay.
Yeah, and that's one thing. That's a good point, that the sheriff is the custodian of those body cameras. He's the one who is holding the body cameras, the footage. Now, the district attorney will make a strategic decision as to his investigation as a potential prosecution as to what he want to release. But at minimum, the sheriff can release the body footage to the family. The family will get an opportunity to see the footage before the public or the media at large will see it.
is the FBI not in control of this now? Is the sheriff is still the custodian
He's
of that video? It's not the FBI now?
The SBI is leading the investigation, but the sheriff is still the custodian of the evidence at this time.
And in addition to the body camera footage, you mentioned the trust
Can you come a little closer?
In addition to the body camera footage, you mentioned trust and needing transparency, accountability for that. Is there anything else you all would call for to rebuild that trust outside of this footage, whether that's action or policy or something else in that front?
Well, Mr. Horton? Yes, sir. I'm from Atlanta. I'm here to represent this family at the utmost. I'm not from this community. Mr. Horton is an elected official in this community, so he can answer that question.
Thank you so much. As an elected official, my response to that question would be simple, that the body camera footage is the first step. And from us receiving that footage, then we know as a community how we need to move forward. Whether this was a justified shooting or where it was a wrongful shooting. And as far as my office is concerned, that's how we'll move forward after we see that footage. But that is the first step, and we demand the sheriff to release that footage as soon as possible.
Is there anything you can do as a city council member to compel him to do that, or is it up to the county?
Well, I think it's up to him as his office, as a duly elected official as well. That he has custody of that footage, and from my understanding, he is the one that, not the district attorney, but him himself is the one that can make that decision whether or not that footage can be released. At least that's what we're being told.
What's the legal justification for not allowing anyone else to see the body cam footage, and what's the reason you've been given?
Well, legal justification, one thing, when you have an incident as such, you have an investigation to take place. And the investigation is very pertinent, not just for investigation of what happened, but investigation as relates to a criminal prosecution. But for as a legal standard as relates to a video being released, I think North Carolina have different laws as it relates to when a video can be released. But this issue, as you can see across the nation, you can imagine if George Floyd video was not released, or you can imagine some of the other videos, the Rain White video was not released, and so many others, what type of unrest would come. And I'm hoping that these elected officials here in this county would take note. Take note, no matter how bad it is, transparency is the first step, as Mr. Horton stated, towards accountability and strengthen the ties with the government and its citizens.
Just to follow up, do you know when someone impartial or the DA is going to be able to view the video?
I'm sorry?
Do you know when someone who is impartial to the sheriff's office or the DA is going to be able to view the video?
To my understanding, the district attorney has viewed the video.
Did the district attorney tell you that he had viewed the video?
He sure did. He did.
People other than the sheriff at this point have viewed the video that has not been offered to the Brown family.
The district attorney has reviewed the video. I don't believe he reviewed the video in its entirety based on the conversation we have had, but he has viewed the video.
And you mentioned at the top that multiple deputies, you believe, shot at Mr. Brown. I know that during the press conference there wasn't much information that was given, but they did say that the deputy.
Yeah, it was, and I saw that press conference and implied it was one deputy. It was 3 deputies. All 3 of them currently on administrative leave.
And all 3 deputies, do we know, used their weapon?
To my understanding, they did.
And are all 3 from the same county, or are any from their county?
I don't believe. I believe all of them from this county. From this county. So I don't believe they're from any outside agency. So 3 officers involved.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you know if those officers yesterday were part of some sort of drug task force?
No, I do not.
Have they identified the deputies to you guys at least?
No.
I was in there.
Yeah.
I apologize for this, but for those who arrived late, could you just say your names again so we get it right?
Harry Daniels, Attorney Harry Daniels. I'm the lead counsel for the Brown family. This is Chantel Lassiter. She's a local counsel here in North Carolina. This is President NAACP, Mr. Rivers, Keith Rivers, and the City Councilman Darius Horton.
I was in the environment yesterday, and I noticed there were some kids watching all this transpire. What's your message to the youth around this situation?
As it relates to protesting or
That's anything, general. Do you have any anything to say to the youth that's actually seeing this and actually witnessing this?
yeah, I'll let Ms. Lassiter answer that question. Thank you.
Good morning. I am local to Pasquotank County, and the message to the youth, Mr. Brown had children. He had youth. He had young adults that he was caring for. So the message to the youth would be to hang on to your values and to pay attention And that is kind of what they were doing yesterday. They're paying attention. The more they pay attention, the more they will learn, and we can prevent tragedies, hopefully, in the future in this area.
Any other questions?
I have one. Councilman, can you talk
They sound like more like two now.
Councilman, to the council, can you talk about just what this already in just less than 36 hours here has done here in Elizabeth City? How this is sort of reverberated through the community?
Well, I would start off by saying that we consider ourselves the harbor of hospitality. We're a small, loving community. I believe that we bond together, and the unanswered questions, the lack of transparency, the possible lack of accountability has caused a cloud of gloom over our community. There are so many persons who are hurt by the incident, but they're troubled by the lack of information. So to answer your question, it has caused much pain and much sorrow. And I always say that hurt people, but I'm hoping in this situation that hurt people will help heal people. So that's what I'm looking for.
Any other questions? Nothing else? All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Quick offline question. Is there anything specific planned for today?
Well, they are NAACP not controlled. Right. Yeah, but they are. They're playing at 5.
You guys gotta get one of these, man.
Yeah, I saw that. That looks awesome.
The news break.
They never hear when it starts.
I know, right?
Right. Well,
Here we
oh, what's he?